being recorded. Yes, we're already late.
Dan, can you hear us? You need to unmute
Hold on,
yourself,
I'll
Dan.
unmute. We just unmuted you, Dan.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yes.
Good, thank you. And we
Lori
also
just started.
have here 0282.
That's me, Nancy.
There's Nancy at 0282. And we have 2306. That's Joe. 2306.
I think it's Josh.
Josh.
Pinkman.
I just unmuted you, Josh.
Oh,
Okay,
yes,
that's Josh.
yes. I'll mute me again, if you like.
Okay.
And then we have 7028, who's Carolyn.
That's me. I'll mute myself.
Hi, Carolyn. Are we expecting anyone else?
I don't think anybody else is coming on. I don't think we have any update at the moment for COVID-19, other than to say I'm sure you've all heard that the governor has extended the stay-at-home order to May 18th.
Right.
So we get to continue Zooming.
Wonderful.
So the next thing on the agenda was hazard pay for election workers. We had started talking about that at the end of our last meeting and never got anywhere. And perhaps Carolyn could chime in with her questions about the whole hazard pay thing anyway, that she had some questions on.
Am I unmuted?
You
Can
are.
you hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Okay. I really, other than what I had put in the email about it should be listed as hazard pay, I have not seen any further directive as to how it will be reimbursed, if at all, from FEMA when the time comes. And it's really up to the select board to decide how they want to issue it, if it's going to be tied, like if somebody who works 1 hour is going to get the same stipend as somebody who works 40 hours. That's kind of the question, what you're going to call it. I recommended hazard pay, and then it's just a matter of the mechanics of getting it to me, which I can write something up and send it to the departments. But other than that, I don't really know anymore.
In terms of reimbursement, I can answer that. I was on a call with NEMA and FEMA the other day. The only costs for employees that's eligible for reimbursement is overtime. So none of this is reimbursable.
That was pretty much what the piece that I had read, that was how FEMA handled it, unless you had something in your personnel policy prior to COVID that dealt with hazardous duty pay, which we do not.
Okay, and I think the idea of the last discussion was that everyone who did any work in a week would be getting $90 a week extra.
Okay.
Is that correct, Christine and Lori?
Well, I don't remember that we said if people didn't work that they wouldn't get paid, but that makes sense. I don't think we specified about that. Do you remember, Lori?
Yeah, I don't think that came up. I know I wasn't quite aware of what big of a range there is in, how many hours the people work. I don't know if it seems a little bit unfair or, unequal in terms of, Joe getting 90, who's full-time chief, and then somebody who might just work 1 hour. But I don't know how easy it would be to come up with a way to make it a little bit more, equitable. I don't know, I mean, I guess we don't have Joe on the line, so does anybody have a feel for what the range is and how, likely it is that we'll be having many weeks where somebody's working 1 hour or very few hours and getting this?
I think based on, I pulled the payrolls today from March 10th till current, and it's pretty much the fire department and the police department that have, quite a fluctuation in their hours. And yes, you may have a police officer who's only, they might only work 6 hours in the month, let alone, per week. So that would maybe average to an hour, hour and a half a week. Whereas you might have, if there's fires, you're going to have, or, or calls for the fire department, they put in 20 hours in a week. It's kind of all over the lot just based on the nature of the work that they do. And then you have the RATS, who has very consistent hours, and the highway department, which again, who has very consistent hours. So, but my understanding, the way you were going to word this motion was that it basically didn't matter whether you worked, it was the positions that were being given this stipend, and it was irrelevant the hours worked. So either you have to completely change what your intent was, or the way you were going to handle it, and make it, either a percentage of a person's hourly rate or a flat extra hourly rate, and call it, if you want it to be reimbursable, you call it overtime, but then that's just a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about going back to the hourly stipend increase, which we did discuss for a while, especially for RATs, $5 per hour for all the employees? I think that we also finished off last week with the idea that we would do something for the poll workers, and I think Gretchen has expressed an interest in that. And of course, they're paid by the hour, so they would fit in. They would fit into the $5 an hour scheme.
So the problem with that, we talked about that, is that the highway works 40 hours a week, and that they would be getting a large amount of money that's more than the highway budget can sustain. And also, we felt that they weren't really, they would agree, actually, that they are not in great danger. There's not a lot of hazard in their job. They mostly work with each other.
And conversely,
So
the fire and police would be getting next to nothing.
Right. So I would prefer to stick with the flat fee. So if the fire department, if a policeman works an hour every week or 2 hours every week, he would get the $90. It's disproportionate, but I don't know. That seems to me the easiest, simplest way to do it.
Which is a flat fee for everybody?
$90 a week for anybody who works during a week.
And the poll workers?
Well, they could get the same. They could get an extra $90 for their day of work. That seems pretty substantial.
What do you think, Lori?
I guess it definitely seems easier. I don't suppose it would make any sense to have a minimum number of hours worked for that to kick in. I guess that's tricky because you don't know if that hour was hazardous or not. How much what is the hourly wage for like the poll worker? Is that?
It's, sorry, I muted myself. It's $14.27.
So they're only going to
So,
work
and The poll
Okay.
workers, like the counters, they get an hour usually, and then you go up to, the people who are there all day, and they may be getting paid 12, 13 hours.
Well, how about $90 a week for everybody except for the poll workers and $5 an hour extra for them?
I don't
It's
know
just
if
a
you
one-
can handle, I think it has, well, I don't know, this is different, but usually with any kind of a benefit, which this is a benefit, it has to be uniform for all employees. But what if you did something like 0 to, or 1 to 20 hours was $45 extra a week, and, anything over, or 20, anything over 20 hours was the 90.
Well, that makes sense in a way, although I think the initial thought was to give the rats who are at the most danger a substantial increase, and in that case, they'd only get 45.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. I was just, thinking the halves.
Yeah, I know what you're
Um,
thinking.
no,
So
I
what
know.
about, I'm going back to Lori's suggestion of having people work a minimum of 2 hours in a week, which would eliminate perhaps some fire or policemen who only work briefly. It would eliminate the poll workers who only count votes for an hour. Is that what you said?
Right.
That sometimes they only work for an hour? So
Right.
it would eliminate people. And I think that the number of hours that the polls are going to be open are a little bit less, like 12 to
12 to 7.
yeah. It's just a 1 day. I mean, they win big time, but
I know, but it potentially have the most exposure in a confined space than
Right.
anybody else.
That's
Everybody
true,
else
too.
that's working, they're working outside in the open air for the most part. But the poll workers are in a confined room with
Good
people,
point.
I like
even
the
if you
idea of
only let them in one at a time.
giving everybody something, but maybe the cutoff is 5 hours, or not the cutoff. Under 5 hours, you get 45, and over that, you get 90. Or we could come up with another number,
Right.
so that everybody's going to get something. But if you're under 5 hours a week, it's less. And then just what Carolyn just said, I wanted to make sure. You said everybody has to get the same benefit, but we're only giving this benefit to certain departments. Is that okay?
Yes, because I believe so. Again, this is just a whole new world, but because you've identified the specific departments, you couldn't pick and choose within, like you're only going to give it to the supervisors or the chief or, the fire chief or the police chief kind of thing. And I think what I was really getting at more was that the type of benefit needs to be consistent. Like you were talking about one category was going to get a per hour increase, whereas another category was going to get a flat rate. And I think that's where it runs into a bit of a tricky situation.
Well, Carolyn, how does the $90 a week across the board and 45 for under 5 hours a week sound?
Well, I think it sounds good to me, and I don't know why it would be a problem, but again, I'm going to be shocked if anybody comes back to, any auditor or anyone comes back to any of these decisions that the towns are making and raises a problem with them.
Yeah.
Right.
How's that sound,
So,
Christine?
I'm going to make a motion that we give hazard pay to the highway department workers, the RATS workers, the police and the fire departments, including the chiefs, and to the poll workers in the amount of $90 a week for people who work 5 hours or more. And if they work 1 to 4 hours, they get $45 a week. If they don't work at all, they get nothing.
I'll second
second.
that. Is there any discussion? Lori, any discussion?
Nope.
Okay. I want to make sure that the scribe there, Liam, got the wording exact. Maybe you could
Yeah,
read it
and
back to us.
we're also recording it, so if I can't get it down right now, I can look at it later.
Okay,
Did-
Liam, thank you.
Did that sound clear to everybody?
Yes.
Carolyn? Carolyn, we can't hear you. You still there, Carolyn?
We hear you. Oh. Unfortunately.
We-
okay.
All right, now I think I'm unmuted. I'm just staying unmuted and then I'm hanging up. Yes, I think that sounds perfect.
And Nancy,
Okay.
what do you think? Does it sound right to you,
I think
Nancy?
I think it's very clear, but I'm also going to say I will send this out to police and fire so that they're aware of it, because this is different. And I think I should also alert the FinCom.
Right.
Yes. I think it's different, but it's not, it's just the details that are different. The overall idea is the same.
Yeah.
Christine, can I make a small amendment to your motion to amend it to say pending approval by the FinCom?
Sure, I agree to that.
Okay, well, let's vote on that amendment. Or did the amendment get seconded? Oh, yeah, I guess that's a second from you, Christine. So we can vote on that amendment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And further discussion about the main motion?
Aye. Oh,
Seeing
further
none, we can
discussion.
vote on that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous.
Okay, I'll send out that information to the FinCom and police and fire tomorrow. I'll put everybody on the email, so ask them to respond to all. So Carolyn, you should know from them as well.
Perfect.
And if you could send me the wording, or the department heads the wording of how they're to handle getting this pay, that would be wonderful.
Will do.
Okay, any further thoughts on that subject?
Well, I know, Carolyn, one thing you said is that department heads, the people who prepare the payroll have to
Hmm.
put that in, right?
Right, and I'll write a memo,
Okay. All right.
stating that. And I'm correct that it goes back to any payroll from March 10th forward, correct? Until the end of the fiscal year? Is that, oh, that's the other thing. I knew there was something else. That's the other thing that you should include in that, is an end date, whether it be June 30th or till the governor, put some parameter in there. Otherwise,
We originally had said until the state of emergency is over in Massachusetts, or the fiscal year, whichever comes first.
okay, are you going to include that in the motion you made tonight?
I'll make that amendment.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 we're getting so good at these I's. We're not overlapping each other.
All right, well, I don't want to hold
Before
up your
Carolyn
meeting.
leaves,
Yep.
Laura, you had asked something about employee sick leave under COVID-19. Should Carolyn be part of that?
If she would like, I did briefly chat with her on the phone earlier, but, and we don't have to go, maybe we don't need this to be the full discussion here, but just to put it in people's minds. In Greenfield, they have given employees, well, so the federal government has, there's a coronavirus-related legislation that says people are entitled to 2 weeks sick leave or extended sick leave or emergency sick leave or something like that. And the Greenfield has interpreted that to give everybody that on top of their normal sick leave. So, and it applies to certain categories, you know, there's certain eligibility requirements, like whether you're in isolation or you're caring for somebody in isolation or you're caring for your children because they're out of school. There's various ways that it kicks in. And I had just talked to Carolyn, and I think it could be interpreted also that it's only for people, or it's mostly for people who don't have sick leave in the first place. So this is you know, a fail-safe for people who don't even have any sick leave, and now they get 2 weeks. So I think it could go either way. But what I do know is I think it's safe to say that there could be people in town, employees who won't have enough sick leave to cover if they have any of these situations come up. And it's something that the town could think about incorporating possibly in their policy, or if they wanted to help people out in this situation by offering more sick leave. So that was one thing. I don't know if we want to discuss that a little bit. And
Christine?
I have a couple of questions, a question and a comment. I read that this afternoon, and it seemed to me that it was sort of up to the employer whether an employee had to use their regular sick leave first and then use this new sick leave. So it sounds like you can have both. You can have your regular sick leave and you can have this.
Good. That's what, that's how Greenfield
Does it apply to government employees? I know it said something. Go ahead.
It said private, I know, and I think it either got expanded or altered because Greenfield is doing it. So I'm pretty certain that that is working for municipalities.
Well, I can look into it tomorrow, if you'd like.
Sure. I think that the leave for childcare runs until the end of December, but I'm not sure that the sick leave parts do run that long. Maybe they do.
And some of it isn't full sick leave. Some of it is like you get 2/3 of your pay, and then they can supplement that with their own sick leave to get full pay, but make their sick leave extend longer. So it would definitely help people out if that's something we wanted to do. I mean, and again, maybe we won't have that many people who have to deal with this, but I mean, I know for Greenfield, again, the other thing they're letting people do is use this kind of leave and their regular sick leave just if they can't work for other reasons too. Like when I started staying at home full time, I couldn't telecommute, so I couldn't really do much work, and they were allowing me to take sick leave for that, use my sick leave for that, rather than, you would normally have to use your personal or your vacation or whatever. So I don't know how that fits in with this policy, if that was just something Greenfield made their own policy for that kind of thing. But I'm thinking that maybe somebody like Rosie or other, I know that they've maybe just let go of other library staff at this point, that they're just not working or getting paid. But, you know, if Rosie just has less hours that she actually can work because the work just isn't there, then this might be something that could help her if she could either use what sick leave she has or this emergency leave. So that's just another thought of ways we might be able to help if, you know, you want to think about that.
Lori, does the town need to do anything to sign up for that?
I mean, I think it's just a legislation. We probably just have to make it part of our policy so Carolyn knows what to do.
Yeah, sure she does. Like I said, I'll look into it tomorrow. Because what I had
Okay.
read previously to this regarding the sick leave was it did not cover municipality or any state. It was for the private sector. And so, but like I said, they've been changing the details of the laws every single day, so.
Yeah, the CARES Act was something I was trying to look more closely for, and I couldn't find it. I think that might have changed the one that I sent out that was called the Family First.
Mhm.
So I don't know if that's where some of this information is. So I had one other thing to think about along these lines is, the idea that some people might have to leave their work because they're sick or isolated or what other various reasons, we'll also leave it so that there's a lot of work that can't get done necessarily, and how can we fill in and get that work done, and is there a way to either hire new people more quickly or easily because of this emergency situation, or find a way to pay the people who are doing the work maybe on a volunteer, semi-volunteer now just because it needs to get done, but could find a way to pay those people. That was another thought that I have no idea what kind of parameters there might be out there, but hoping that the state of emergency might make it easier to do things in those situations. And I don't know if I think Carolyn's already had some conversations about this as well, but
Right. It's new territory, and so I think we have to look or see what's available in a case-by-case situation, because I haven't seen anything pop up yet that has spoken to being able to pay people for positions that under normal circumstances are not eligible, to pay them for. Like, there are certain elected positions they're not supposed to be able to earn an hourly wage under normal circumstances. But again, I think as time goes on, a lot of that is going to, there'll at least be a window where you can make other accommodations. So, but I will look into it.
okay, thank you.
So Carolyn, can we plan on you reporting back to us in 2 weeks at our next meeting?
Yes, on two things, on the sick leave, and on paying employees as under special circumstances. I mean, we have the ability under our personnel policy to hire people in an emergency capacity without doing advertising and, doing jumping through those normal hoops. We have that ability. It's just a matter of who those people are and what other positions they already hold in the town. That's where it gets a little tricky. So.
And the other question would be how to pay for that. And so I think we should probably alert the FinCom about this discussion and have them on board next time also.
Right, because some of the positions, there would be money in the budget, because the person that would normally be working isn't going to be able to be working because they're out sick, right? And
Right.
so there'd be money there, but then there's other positions that they're elected, they're salaried, they get stipends or whatever, or, they don't really, there isn't extra money in the budget, so, right. Well,
So
that
how
is a conversation for the FinCom.
So the question that comes to my mind is someone like Joy Gozerkowski, who does payroll. That's a
Right.
job that needs to be done.
Yes.
So somebody probably in town could step up. I mean, somebody else some other employee could step up and do some of that work, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, that's
Right,
just a thought.
and that position, it wouldn't be a problem to be able to have someone else step in and do that. Because again, if she can't do it, she's not getting paid, so the funds for paying for that position, they're already in place. They're already part of a budget. It's just a matter of finding someone who knows how to do what it is she was doing. And, God forbid she gets sick. But,
So wait, I'm
no,
a
I
little
think,
confused. Carolyn,
Pardon?
she wouldn't get paid because she doesn't earn sick leave?
correct.
Is that right?
Her position's not eligible for any benefits.
I see. Okay.
The only positions right now that in town that are eligible for benefits are the director of the library, the administrative assessor, the 3 highway, and the fire chief.
And me.
Nancy?
Oh, and Nancy, yes, excuse me, I forget about you, poor Nancy, because you get paid through New Salem. But
I think
yeah,
I've got about
Nancy.
15 weeks of sick leave. I think I'm okay.
Okay, well, don't you get sick either. Then we're really in trouble. Ugh.
Kidding.
But anyway, those are the positions that do have that are benefited positions. All the others are hourly and, or they're elected.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
So
well,
who's
thanks
gonna-
for looking into that, Carolyn.
All right, will do. All right, I will
Who's
sign
gonna-
off so you can continue unless you have something else you want me to stay on and listen to.
You're okay for me.
All right, well,
Me.
you know where to find me.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you, bye-bye.
So who's going to communicate with the FinCom about this? Is it Nancy or one of us?
Yes, I can do that. I'll
All right,
ask them to be
Nancy.
there next week, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so next item up, CDBG funding. Lori, have you talked to Brian or the Broadband Committee? I'm not sure where we were going with this, but you said it was too early for Brian to be on the call.
Yeah, we actually have no new information on this. I've bugged him all week, and he finally just emailed back saying he hasn't heard back from his supervisor or whoever he's waiting to hear back from. So nothing new.
Okay, I'll put that on again in 2 weeks then.
So we have voted to go ahead with that program.
Yeah, and I told him that.
Yeah, okay.
So the next thing is just a bit of knowledge. The oldest citizen certificate is in the mailbox waiting to be signed. The pin is on my desk. I don't know, what we're doing about awarding this. If you want to write a letter, put it in the mail, wait until this is over. But, I hate to do that on the oldest citizen. You just never know.
You never know. So here's my thought. Lena lives down on Stone Road in a little house with her grandson lives, it's a duplex, the other side. But she has a little front porch. And I thought if she was willing, we could ask her to come out on the front porch. The 3 of us could go there and stand 6 feet apart, give a little speech, give her the certificate, show her the cane. How does that sound? Does that sound like a reasonable thing if she's willing?
That sounds good to me. How about you, Lori?
Sure. I'm fine with that.
So why don't we pick like three dates that we might we would all three be able to do it, and I'll try to touch base with Lena and her grandson and make sure that they can be there. So Saturday, an afternoon, does it matter? Weekday afternoon?
Saturday's good
Lena's-
for me.
Yeah, Saturday's okay.
So should we try for this Saturday?
Sure.
I'm trying to remember what the weather is. I know it's going to
Rainy.
rain for a couple days. It might get,
I
Was it
think
gonna clear up
Saturday's
on
okay for weather.
okay.
Saturday looks okay for weather?
I think so.
Oh. I'm gonna check.
I had heard rain in the morning, but better in the afternoon.
That's right. I think it's going to clear in the afternoon.
Mine says a chance of showers after 5. Well, you know, if it's just a little sprinkle or something. So what if we say 11 o'clock on Saturday? And maybe have a rain date on Monday? Does that
That's
work?
fine with me.
That's good for me.
I'll
11
say-
a.m. on Monday?
Well, I'm thinking that her nephew or grandson, I don't know if he's working or not, maybe 5 o'clock on Monday?
Okay.
Okay, I will check with him and just email you guys back with whatever works best.
Okay, and just Tuesday, I still do work for Greenfield parts of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, so those would be less good if you needed to find other days for me.
Not Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, right?
Right.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, okay.
So if those dates don't work, Christina, how about shooting for the following Saturday?
Okay, so that would be Saturday, May 9th?
9.
Okay. All right, at 11. Okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll email you. We can just all drive in our own cars and be socially distant.
What's the address again, Christine?
Hold on, I can tell you. It's 13.
Okay, thank you.
13. Bear Mountain Road, not Stone Road. So it's
Oh,
the
it's Bear
first.
Mountain
you
Road.
turn on Bear Mountain. So you turn onto Bear Mountain, it's the first house on the left.
Okay, does that cover the oldest citizen?
Yep.
So I know we can do this, I guess, when we're there, but does the whole select board sign this certificate? And is that what you said, it was a certificate?
The certificate is actually going to be with the minutes and the warrant to be signed. If you don't get up to do that, I'm sure you could sign it that day.
Okay.
All right. And where is the key to get the cane out of the, is that a locked
I don't think-
cabinet?
No, that's not locked.
Okay,
And while we're
Right.
thinking about it, Nancy, you will let us know when everything's ready to sign?
I will.
And I can definitely go in this time. I've had 2 weeks off, or 2 times off,
Mhm.
if somebody else wants to skip.
I don't mind going in. I'll happy to.
I'll go in too, I think.
All right.
So the next thing was 97 Wendell Depot Road. I think I had forwarded everybody the email from Anna Seeger, who doesn't really sound like she's really ready to move forward at this point with anything.
Did you all see her email?
I don't think I remember seeing it, so when did that come through?
Earlier this week,
It might have only
Nancy?
gone, let me just read it to you. It's pretty brief. So first of all, we had asked her to come into a meeting, but she said that Wednesdays are not good for her because of the conflict with the assessors meetings that have been going on quite long. She said, in addition, with the current state of everything, a project like this has taken on a new level of risk and complication for us. With my kids at home all the time and the need for limited interactions, I have not been able to move forward on estimates for work at 97 Depot Road. I understand Christine would like to tie up loose ends before leaving the board and that the property is a liability for the town. Are there other reasons to push forward with this right now? With National Grid causing delays on the progress of community solar, could this be put on hold until the outcome is more certain? I would be sad to see the house torn down. She does say, if the select board feels the need to move forward now, I understand, but would have to pass on the project.
Well,
So
Christine, I understand your interest in trying to wrap it up before you leave, but it sounds like it might be worth waiting until we know more and give Anna the chance to recover.
Well, I don't have much hope of wrapping it up in the next month anyway, but I'm also just nervous about leaving that building with a cellar full of water forever. It's been, I don't know how many years. And it almost sounds to me like this is something that Anna would like to do, but realistically, even before COVID, she didn't find the time. Now, I know the assessors were really busy all through the fall and early winter. I don't know. I'm just afraid it's not a good thing to let drag on for too long. And even like when she says she can't come to a meeting, she wants to have an executive session. So that could be, I mean, she could leave an assessors meeting long enough to meet with us for 20 minutes or so, you know, even later in the evening. So I know it's something she wants to do, and I think it's a great idea. I just don't know if it's ever really going to happen. That's my worry.
Well, it is sounding pretty unlikely at this point.
So what would be our other, our next step? Would we do an RFP without really knowing if anybody would have interest?
An RFP to do something like she's suggesting, you mean, to fix up the house?
Yeah,
I
or I
think
can't remember what the Herrick property one said. Was it sort of,
the big,
people could propose any number of things, I imagine.
the big difficulty with this piece of property is the fence for the solar field
Right.
will come with, you know, 8 or 10 feet of the back door.
Yeah.
So I don't even know, we don't even know if that's something we can, you know, would take a special dispensation from the whoever, building inspector, zoning board of appeals. I don't know. What else could we do? We could auction off the building and have someone take it down, move it. I mean, there don't seem to be good options. We could tell the solar people to forget it. It's taking too long. We just want to take care of the house. Those are just possibilities.
Well, auctioning off the house, Christine, or the house with some property, or just the house itself for demolition?
Well, if we just gave up on the solar project, then we could auction the house and the property. If we were going to hold to our commitment to the solar project, we would just be auctioning off the house or finding someone to demo it, I guess, or, you know, what ideally someone who would take it away and rebuild it, but maybe that's not such a realistic expectation.
Well, we could put out an RFP for somebody to take it away.
With stipulations of some sort.
Well, with a stipulation that they leave a clean site,
Mhm.
but not too many restrictions on what they do with it, because it's going to be hard to find somebody who's willing to do it in the first place.
Mhm. Well, I mean, we could just find someone to take it away. Do we need to go through the proposal, RMF or whatever it is?
We probably don't need to do an RFP if we're just giving it away.
Mm. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's probably not something we're going to decide tonight, but I just feel unsure. I mean, I know Anna wants to do this, but I just don't know if she's ever really going to be able to do it. And part of the problem is, like I said, the whole zoning and the fence business.
Well, there's also a problem with that house living under huge electric lines. That's, for me, would be an issue. But why don't we put it on the agenda for next meeting and think about it?
Okay.
I would
And
be. Go ahead, Lori.
I was just going to say, I'll reach out to Greg Garrison about the solar, because the new incentive program just got finalized, or for the most part finalized. So it's possible that there's new numbers that will give us an idea of how realistic it's going to be that it'll happen. I mean, we still don't know the national grid numbers, but now we have a good idea about the incentive numbers. So I'll do that just to get a clear idea on how much they want us to keep that on hold.
All right, that's good. And you know, I think I will check with the building inspector about the fence business and what it would involve to make it okay. You know, what the process would be, I guess. I'm not even clear on that. So
And
we can talk about it. Go ahead.
Would it be worth someone speaking to Anna and telling her what we're thinking and getting a better sense from her about the likelihood that she'll be able to do something?
Well, we could, you know, express our concerns about if, you know, is this really a viable possibility for her? Let's Lori and I do a little bit of research and talk about that as a possibility to talk to Anna next time.
Okay.
And Nancy, can you send that email so I can read it again? And what about there was another? Was it Adrian? I can't remember.
Yes.
Name,
Adrian
who was
Montagna.
interested on the historical aspects of it. And I mean, I know he didn't really seem like he was ready to do anything, but maybe it's worth touching base with him too if we really think Anna's not going to go forward, just to see if other avenues have opened up there.
He's actually representing the family that originally built the farmhouse, I think. Somehow he's hooked in with them, and they're interested in preserving it, and they were very happy, I think, to think that Anna might do that, you know, keep it as
Right.
a house. So if we're going to be tearing it down, and we definitely want to connect back up with them again.
I think that Adrian's interest also was in documenting it, and I believe he has been in the house and he has taken photographs of everything, if I'm remembering that correctly.
I think so.
And I don't think he was going to rebuild it in any way, shape, or form.
No, no. Okay, well, thank you guys for spending some time and energy on this issue.
Okay. So our friends at Apple Guy Flowers are sending us, nasty emails that we can't keep avoiding this topic forever. So I did ask Nan about the Apple Guy Flowers lawyer's contention that we can't have a moratorium, that ship sailed as of December of 2019. And Nan called the Attorney General's office and said that she didn't really get a straight answer. I don't know if she's continuing to pursue this or if I should talk to town council and ask them. In the meantime, we have gotten a sample host community agreement. I don't know if you all saw that. It's like an 8-page agreement.
Yeah, I've looked at it.
I looked at
Yeah.
it.
So Nancy, are they really sending you bad emails, even though we have obviously taken a step and asked them for a sample?
No, they were
agreement?
happy that we took that step, but they did send me another one wanting to know, what was going on, and they would like to hear from us soon. And I said I would be talking to you today, and I would get back to them with some plan to move forward.
So my thought is, in the absence of a moratorium, there is no moratorium at this rate, at this moment, and it's questionable if there is one. I don't know that we should spend our money trying to figure that out. It's a planning board issue. I mean, it would be our money eventually, but I think that we should negotiate with them about the community, the agreement that they provided us. I think we should just move ahead, not fast, but keep moving. It feels to me like we should do that. These people have applied to us. We've kind of put them off. I think it's time to get back to work on it.
What about having a hearing on it? A virtual hearing?
So I don't believe a hearing is required for the host community agreement, although I do think that one is required under the Cannabis Control Council for any cannabis business in town. And they have just issued some guidelines that will allow for a virtual electronic meetings, but it has to be set up by the applicant, and there's a whole list of things that they need to do. I just got that today. I haven't digested the whole thing, but it's pretty extensive. I don't know how easy that's going to be for them to do in Wendell. And I think, yep,
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Is that something they have to do, like at what step in the process do they need to do that? Is that before the host community agreement or before the planning board application? Or do you know what?
I know in New Salem, we had a retail applicant and they already did this, and we haven't signed a host community agreement. So I don't know. I don't think that these people have had any community hearing. I don't know with the planning board what happened with they initially went to the planning board.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well,
I can certainly ask them.
Well, why
Ask
don't
Apple
we ask them and see if they have any plans to have a hearing, and tell them that we're very interested in them having a hearing.
Well, I think my understanding is the same as Nancy's, is they have to have a hearing at some point. And it's not really part of the host community agreement at all. It's just a separate piece. Maybe we should ask our attorney what the process is. You know, is there a specific order things have to happen in?
You might be able to get that from FERCog too, or MMA, if we don't want to spend money.
That's a good idea.
So my thought, just in terms of really doing our due diligence, was first, I think Dan has a good point. It doesn't have to be a public hearing, but we could just at a future select board meeting make it very clear that we're looking for public input, if that's part of what we want this part of, if we want that to be part of the process. But I think it's also, what I was making a list of all the different town committees and boards that might have a stake in this, and I think it would be valuable to either have each of us individually go out and get, chat with other boards, or have an all-board meeting, to have a discussion. Like, so I had the FinCom, Board of Health, assessors, planning, police and fire, maybe. All these people who might actually have an opinion on how this might affect the community, and if they would want to see certain things in this agreement. So that was one step. I think that might be a good way to go. And again, it could be trying to get everybody together in one meeting, or it could be, each of us representing the board and talking to different people.
That seems, to get a meeting of everybody together seems like it would be difficult, but you could also, another way is you could send them the agreement and see what they think of, comment on it.
Well,
I don't know.
that's a good idea, Christine. We could just send out the agreement to all those boards that Lori mentioned and ask them to respond in email.
Mm-hmm. So we all saw the agreement, and to me, it seemed pretty good. They're offering us, what, 1.75% of their profits?
I don't think so.
And
I don't
you
think
don't
they're
think-
offering us anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because-
There's a community impact fee, and they put 1.75% as that
Yeah,
fee.
but the community impact fee, we have to show that there's an impact, and we have to document it. And that's going to be hard to do. Because we're not plowing roads for them. We're not giving them, if they have a police detail, they're going to pay for that separately. I don't think we can really document any expenses that the town will have for such a small operation, especially if it's not retail.
Yeah,
You know,
but Dan, it does say operator acknowledges that the payments due under this agreement are reasonably related to the town costs, and they waive any claim to the contrary. And they are offering 1.75% of the gross revenue from the facility's annual cannabis product sales. I don't know. I mean, right now, I think the towns are still being able to negotiate these, but the state may come in and override anything the town does.
So yeah, that is what he says, that he does offer the 1.75, and he does say that they understand that it would be hard to quantify or judge all the different services, like we are spending time right now working on this, and that they don't they waive any claims to the contrary. Said the payments under this agreement are reasonably related to town costs and waive any claims to the contrary. That's right on the second little bit of a page, the bottom of the first. So I thought that was pretty fair. I mean, maybe for the sake of bargaining, we should ask for more and end up somewhere in between. I'm a big believer in bargaining.
I also believe that those fees are only for 3 years, and that goes away.
Yes, there was something like that.
I'll have to
It
look
just
at that.
three-
I thought it said maybe 5 years, and then I thought maybe it said you could renegotiate it after that, but I guess I'm not sure.
I think, well, I think you're right, Laurie. I don't know whether it's 3 or 5 years, but I do think it's an agreement for this amount of time, and then you renegotiate after that.
One other thought I had is, we know that there's opposition to this, and I don't know how we would necessarily get these answers, but it might be good to find out sort of what would allow the town to say no. Not for the sake, not because that's what we want, but to understand if that is even possible and what would I don't know, I'm not making myself clear.
Oh, I understand you completely,
Okay,
but
good.
I don't, that's why I can check with FERCog, but if I can't get a reasonable answer, I may have to go to town council on this because, I mean, I understand it. The state law allows these, and notwithstanding any Wendell law to the contrary, I don't know how you can say no.
Okay.
We've had opportunities for 2 or 3 years to make these laws to say no, and we didn't do it.
Right.
And it's,
That's my understanding too, Nancy, that they have the right to do this in the town, following the procedures set up by the Cannabis Commission.
I think that's true. So why don't we ask them for 2.75%?
Go for it.
Why not?
Why not? I agree, you know, and then we'll come to somewhere in between. What do you think, Laurie?
well, I think that's fine, but we're not going to go right back to them right now, right? I mean, that's not necessarily the only thing we want to be looking at in this agreement in terms of a negotiation. I think we want to look carefully at more parts of it and check with other board members and just make sure that it makes sense.
Okay, so I can certainly hold them off by saying we're checking with our other boards, we're checking with town council, and we'll get back to them with any changes we'd like to see.
Okay, we can do that at our after our next meeting. Perhaps,
Yeah, and then
hopefully.
you could ask them if they're going to be a public hearing of some type, how that fits in with the process, and maybe if they're not going to do one anytime soon, we could think about a meeting with more public input if we want that.
I think that I think we do need to allow public input. My own sense is that I said this before, it seems like the kind of project that would fit into Wendell, and that I have the sense that most people would agree with that, from the people I've talked to. So I think when we have if we're having a meeting like this, a virtual meeting, that we have to be really careful about limiting people's remarks.
I think it could also be a valuable exercise, and I don't know who, or the easiest way to do this, to think hard about, you know, the reasons people don't like it, to compare what would happen if somebody bought that property and was going to build a house or was going to have some other kind of farm crop, you know, and how all the things would compare. Because I know one of the key things I remember Lucas saying is a house would clear a lot more trees on this property than this farm is going to. And I think I also was looking up in terms of water usage, and I saw something about, you know, it's comparable to growing a bunch of tomatoes, the water usage. I mean, I don't know. Again, I've just been skimming and not doing that careful research, but having those kind of comparative numbers and such would probably be helpful, just to have a clear idea
Mhm.
of what else could happen on that land.
Well, I remember that too. Actually, I think he said that if you build a house and had a yard and a driveway, it would be about the same amount of clearing. And I mean, how much water can 25 plants take? I mean, common sense tells you it's not going to be a drain on the water table particularly. So, but yeah, you're right. We should be prepared to answer those concerns.
Well, we're going to send an email out to the boards that Lori mentioned, asking them for email comments or responses. And then
Yes,
maybe at our next meeting, we can discuss those responses and maybe have the boards at the meeting if they want to be there. And then at that meeting, we can decide our response to these people.
That makes
Sounds good.
sense. We should each of us read it carefully too.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think,
and Nancy, if you have it electronically, maybe just sending whatever his business plan was. I think he sent it to us. You know, just the general plan of what he's going to do on the property might be helpful too, rather than just the host community agreement, which is all legal stuff.
all right, I'll have to look to see if I have that. I'm not sure that I do.
Okay. I know I have a hard copy of it. I can't remember if they sent it electronically.
If you can find that and send it to me, I can scan it
Okay.
and send it
Is
out.
that kind of that they provided us with, Lori? Is
Yeah.
it a pamphlet, brochure?
Yeah, I think so.
That was-
Or
That
packet,
was
yeah.
very informative.
I can look for it too, Lori.
Okay.
Well, he brought us hard copies, so you might not
Yeah.
have one, Nance.
Yeah, I'll have to
Lori-
look from that meeting.
and Nancy, when you do send that out to the boards, can you copy us on it too, so we're all familiar?
Sure. And just to reiterate, it's the FinCom, the Board of Health, assessors, police, fire. What about the planning board?
Yeah, I think planning too.
Anybody else?
I think that was it.
Okay. Very good. All righty. Are we good with this for the moment?
I think so.
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay, so the ATM date, Gretchen and Katie were okay with that last Saturday in June. I did send you my research on open meeting on a Sunday, where it basically said open meeting law is silent, that they don't think it's the best practice, but I think these are strange times. So I think that we would be okay making Sunday the rain date.
That's good. And everyone saw Doug Tanner and Katie's email regarding the problems with trying to do it in June if the emergency order is still on. And maybe we're going to hear from the state that it's okay to push it back. But that's something we don't need to decide tonight.
Yeah,
Yep.
very good.
So Nancy, on this
Okay.
topic, I just want to make sure, in the broadband committee last night, we wanted to make sure that the MLPB appointed, and an appointed MLPB article is going to be on warrant.
Okay, so this would be the same article from last year that we passed over?
I think so. Is there a way you could send that to us too?
Yep. So we're
Electronically?
just going to have the one. Last year we had two, one for appointed, one for elected. We're just going to stick with the appointed board.
That's what we've agreed that we want.
Okay,
Good.
I'll send you that wording. I'm sure I still have it.
That reminded me, if we're ready to move off that topic, that Christine wanted to talk about parking at the town offices with the new broadband, but this is totally off the agenda, so I don't know if we're done with the agenda. Oh,
We have two more quick things. Starting time for select board meetings, Dan, you had suggested 6 or 6:30 for moving forward.
Yeah, I'm sort of on the fence about that now, but what does everybody else think?
I think
I actually,
6:30
go ahead.
would be okay.
6:30?
6 or 7, or keeping it as it is, either way.
Christine?
Yeah, I think, did you say, Lori, 6:30?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I mean, 6 o'clock's a little early for me. But I don't know what we'd be gaining by changing our time. Except we might be more coherent. You look tired, Lori. I mean, you don't look tired, but you're sounding like your brain is tired.
Yes, it does get that way.
Well, you're not the
But
only one.
I think it's easier to stick with what we have.
Okay. I'm fine with that for the time being.
Okay,
And Lori's nodding her head.
That's fine.
sounds good to me. Okay, so we already covered employee sick leave. Christine, you had wanted to thank our stellar select board clerk for his wonderful minutes.
Well, I do want to point out that I think Liam is doing an excellent job on the minutes. He has come a long, long way since January. I'm very impressed with his ability to take in feedback and actually seems to appreciate it, maybe not enjoy it, but he's doing a good job. And his minutes, I think, have reached the point where they're as good as almost any other clerk we've had. We did have a retired English teacher whose minutes were immaculate for years, but Liam, your minutes are really quite good and easy for the most part to correct at this point. And I also want to appreciate the fact that you've been, how come we can't see his face? Can we see his face?
There he is. Oh, God, sorry.
Thank you. Liam, also, usually when our clerk has usually just taken minutes at our regular every other week meetings, and other times Nancy has been doing that, but you've been doing it for us every week for a number of weeks now. And I think it's really good because I think Nancy, between all the emergency stuff and also upcoming end of the year stuff, is pretty, her plate is very full. So it's really excellent that you're doing that extra piece for all of us. And at this, and I think, I won't be on the board much longer, and eventually Nancy's just going to be, you'll send your minutes to Nancy and she'll make whatever correction she needs to, and that will be it. And so I just want to acknowledge that you've done a fabulous job, and I have loved being your mentor.
Thank you.
Good job.
Very good.
I'll second that, Liam. Great job.
Yeah.
So
thank
the
you.
last thing is parking at the town office building when they turn on the outside wireless.
Yeah, and there is another thing too from Alistair, but to deal with this one, Alistair told me tonight that they're going to install that, whatever the heck it is, on Friday. And then it
Yes.
will be just worked right away. And that the Board of Health, I think, has put up some signs about maintaining social distance and so forth. But my thought or question really in regards to your concerns, Nancy, that I perceive are that perhaps we should reserve a couple of parking spots near a door and reserve a door that's only for our employees to use. So that you don't have to, wend your way through people. You don't have to, run through the rain to get to your job. I don't know, what do other people think?
I think that's reasonable. How would we do that? is the question. Can you think of how we would do it?
Well, I think if we just put cones up, you know, we got from the highway department to mark off parking, and maybe a sign on. So there's two doors and one has a roof over it. I know sometimes at the library that kids or people sit under the roof and work on their, or do whatever they're doing. So maybe we could put a sign on the back door that this door and the entrance is just for employees. Please don't block the way, or something to that effect. Do you
Yeah, and you
think that
could,
would be helpful?
yeah, you could cone off the parking spaces that are right next to the rear door.
Exactly.
Sounds good
You
to
have an
me.
opinion?
Works for me. I think,
Will it
we
make
should
you
try
feel-
that and see how it goes. I don't worry so much about people being there. I get there pretty early. I doubt there's going to be a drove of people there at 8 o'clock in the morning. My concern is I go out to get the mail and I come back and don't have a spot to park.
Mhm. Do you think there's ever more than 2 people working there in the building at a time?
This week there has been as many as 4 cars in the lot. So Gretchen is often there. Sometimes I'm trying to think who's been in there. The person that does the warrant, Terry, is in and out. The assessor's clerk is in and out. Sometimes Barbara Craddock is in and out. But people actually staying there, Penny has been in quite a bit. So yeah, I mean, I think there can be 3 or 4 people working in the building. But when this emergency lifts and people are working regular hours again, and people will still be using the Wi-Fi, I think that could present more of a problem. On the assistant tax collector is back in, and the assessor's clerk is in regular hours, and I'm thinking we should at least block off 3 or 4 spots.
Yeah, I think we could cone off 4 spots to begin with, and then if you need more, we'll just do more.
Sounds good.
All right, so Nancy, you think you could make up a sign to put on the door?
Sure. And what is this going to say now?
Well, I just think we don't want people, sitting around or hanging around the doorway, so you have to pass close to them to get in and out. So if
Just
they want to go
this
sit,
entrance.
if you put the
Yeah,
sign at the back entrance, say, please don't congregate here. This is for employees to enter and exit, or something like that.
Don't block access.
Okay.
Remember social distance. And I'll talk to the highway department about some cones.
Okay.
We'll see how that works.
And then when you get the
Okay.
word out to people in town that this is here, you'll put something up about the cones that don't park in those spaces.
Right. I think when we do the announcement on the listserv, I don't know how else we'll announce it, but we can certainly include that,
Okay. And maybe include something about the entranceway as well at that point.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's all I have. Oh, you said something, Alistair had something else?
Alistair had another thing. So Dan, at our broadband committee meeting last night, the MLP voted to approve using suburban propane to what are they doing? Installing a tank. They're going to give us a free tank and charge us so much based on the market price for our gas. And the charge for bringing the tank in is $665 or something like that. So there was an agreement. Alistair emailed this to all of us just beforehand. and I think I forwarded it to you, Nancy. So the agreement has to be signed by one of us tomorrow, preferably. And then the Suburban Propane fellow will come and pick that up and bring some other thing that we need to sign as well. So do you have any questions about that, Dan?
No, it all sounds good to me. I imagine that Alice has been running all this by Jim.
Yes, he
Yes.
has, yeah.
Doing that.
And I'm just not clear whether, you know, you should sign it as the select board chairperson or I should sign it as the MLPB chair.
Well, the money is going to be coming out of the broadband accounts.
Yeah,
So I think you're probably the person to sign.
okay. I'm happy to do it. I just,
And I'm happy to countersign it if you need it.
okay. He said just one signature. They probably don't care. And the other thing he, well, that we decided last night was we had a couple of quotes on the generator and its installation. And, but then, and they were like 14,000 and 16,000, Laura, does that sound right?
I don't remember.
Yeah, and one
Yeah.
was much less, but it was a smaller generator. You know, I don't know how he's getting these quotes, but he's supposed to be telling them the same thing.
Mhm.
Well, so, but then Canning Electric said that they had, that they knew that the Orange Airport has a big generator, 20, whatever they are, that they've used for 140 hours or something, that they're willing to sell to us for some, I don't think I wrote that amount down either.
4,000. Ray said
How much?
4,000.
1,000, and then Canning would charge us something to install it, but it would be a much cheaper way to go. So the broadband committee thought we should do that. And did I think the MLP board agreed to do
Yeah,
that.
we voted.
Yeah. So this is just really to update you, Dan.
Yeah, well, that all sounds good. I think, you know, it's less than $10,000, so I don't think you need to do much more than that.
Yeah,
As long as Canning Electric understands that it's at prevailing wage, we're all set.
has that been an issue that Alistair's addressed? Do you know, remember, Laurie?
He didn't say anything about that. I think it's probably worth talking to him about it because it's definitely
Yeah.
not something to think about.
It's important.
I can get in
No.
touch with him about
You can do that, Laurie, thank you.
sure.
Isn't there something about if the business owner does it, that doesn't necessarily apply?
A sole proprietor, as long as he does it and he has nobody with him.
Okay. So I think that's all I have.
Okay, that sounds good. How about you, Lori?
I think that's all I have.
Okay, well, nice job, everybody. Adjourning at
You're all set?
8:30.
All right,
All
I'll
right,
let you know
good.
tomorrow when everything's ready to sign.
Thanks, Nancy.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good night.
Night.
Thank you, Liam.
Good night.
Thank you, Josh.